Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynn Testoni. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business.
On The Content Bite, we love an automation.
Oh, we so do. We so do.
Anything that saves us time is awesome, which is why I loved Rounded. It tracks invoices so I don't have to remember who's paid me or who needs chasing up. And I was wasting so much time on admin, literally hours every week. And now it takes me about 2 minutes to send an invoice. I also really love the gamification of Rounded. You can look on the interface and look at all the little pie charts.
You set your targets.
Set your targets. It's amazing. So, yeah, big thumbs
And if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you're also in luck because you can save 20% on any annual Rounded plan. And see the show notes for details. Hi, Rachel. Lovely to see your face again.
Oh, you too.
So I'm enjoying this new season of the podcast. I think that break was great. I feel really fresh and invigorated. So that's good.
Me too. Yeah,
and I'm loving meeting all these inspiring guests. What about you?
Yes, I'm really excited by this season. I have to say, we've had some amazing guests already, but this week we have someone that we both love and follow on LinkedIn, and I'm also a subscriber to her newsletter, Sarah Greesonbach. She's a writer and coach. She has a really great approach and just gives so much value in her newsletter. It's light bulb moments constantly for me. So yeah, why don't you introduce Sarah and we'll get her in the hot seat.
I'd love to. So Sarah Greesonbach began her career in B2B writing as a ghostwriter for high traffic publications through Influence & Co. She quickly became a reliable go-to writing and editing contractor for top B2B marketing agencies, using an efficient writing process to deliver polished B2B marketing content. I like that process. We should ask her. So Sarah established the B2B Content Studio in 2013 to zero in what she does best, unearth and polish the unique expertise and value B2B companies bring their prospective customers into content. She also coaches freelancers through her B2B Writing Institute, and she says it's about helping overthinkers get out of their heads and earn more while navigating the ups and downs of building a high-income freelance writing business.
Love it. Love it.
Love it. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello. You said it's a hot seat, but it's actually quite cozy.
Because we were talking offline that you're in your car studio to avoid the kids.
It's strategic on purpose. It's, insulated and the acoustics, and it's a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
I've definitely done interviews in my car. I remember once though, I was doing an interview in my car and a massive storm went overhead. And I was thinking, oh no, is this going to wreck the transcript? But it's actually fine. Yeah, the car can be great.
Yeah. I've done a few waiting at school, water polo and things like that. So,
as long as there isn't a bee inside, I think it should be okay.
Or a spider, as
we
the
get
case
spiders
may be in
here.
Australia.
The old huntsman loves hiding in a car.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. They're fairly harmless but scary looking.
Tell us, Sarah, I love hearing what you do and reading about your career. Tell us what you love about B2B content work.
I'd have to say, after all this time, so it's been about a decade, I think it's just that it makes me feel like a superhero still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's this technology where in B2C, you're writing for consumer brands and retailers and just everything we're all interacting with every day anyway. Mm. But in B2B, it's everything that's behind the scenes. Like it's healthcare technology, it's retail technology, it's consulting and services. And so it's literally changing the world when they do their thing. But then also I get to learn constantly about how the world works. So it's really, it just feeds that curiosity and lets me never stop learning. And that is what made it addictive.
That's interesting. It's great. It's like talking to clever people all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly. And they're all nerds. Like it's very accessible. If you find that, you're good at communicating in the written word or with words, which is what I just said, but written word or verbal words, you end up interviewing a bunch of nerds about the stuff that they love all day,
Yeah.
every day. And
Yeah.
so it ends up, it seems like it's this really complex and hard thing, but actually you're just having conversations about complex and hard things. So I found it to be
Mm.
pretty accessible.
I found when I started doing a lot of business writing, I was like, oh, this is going to be so dry. This is going to be dull. I'm just going to have to get through it for the paycheck at the end. But actually, I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn so much from these other business owners and what they do well and the things they've failed at and the things that work in their businesses. I find it really, I'm quite passionate about it, surprisingly, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it only gets really boring if you're in it long enough that you go really high into like the bigger brands that have a lot of compliance and legal stuff with what they're allowed to say.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I agree. It's just been fascinating.
Oh, that's
Mm.
interesting. I really wanted to talk to you about burning out too, because that's something that really struck me when following you on LinkedIn. Because I guess your LinkedIn profile says you cracked the 200K mark, which is a big thing for freelancers.
Mm.
And you did it several years in a row, which is great. But then you realized you were like tired, burnt out, not present for your kids, your husband. So what did that teach you and how did you come back from that?
Well, gosh. I mean, I want to be sensitive about the topic because burnout is something that just like since the industrial age, we've all had to deal with it and it looks really different, especially when we're lucky enough to work with words on our computer. But for me, burnout just showed up as like losing my love of what I was doing, like not even
Yeah.
remembering why I was doing it. So in the phase I was in, it actually turned out more that for me, it's like that's how I worked through my postpartum depression was if I just become a work robot and make a ton of money, everything else will not be a problem and I can solve all my problems. And I can be really effective when I want to be. So I did it. And then I realized all my problems hadn't gone away.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just even more tired, maybe even more sick because I have some chronic health stuff going on. And I really had to reevaluate. Like, technically, I was living the dream. I was the provider. My husband was a stay at home parent, 2 young kids. We got a townhouse. Like, everything was working well. But, like, how can you be that miserable when things are going so well? So I had to
Yeah.
revisit that a lot.
Mm. Mm.
Wow. It's hard, isn't it? Because I do think you have to relook at everything, don't you, about what money means and what life you want.
Yeah. Because when you accept, I guess, the external world standards for what success is, and you're like, I hit that, I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
happy. And you realize that the bargain, it never was with the world. It has to be with yourself. And if you don't do that intentionally, I think some people can get lucky and it just works out. But for a lot of us, we overperform, overthink, and then finally earn, and then realize there's kind of a whiplash or the golden hamster wheel that you get stuck on, and things aren't. It's just not as much fun as it could be.
Yeah.
So what did you start to put in place to, you know, stop that happening again once you'd recovered from the burnout?
For me, it was a lot of coaching resources. So being the coachee and receiving help. Mindset was such a huge thing. Really understanding how I was raised and how that created a work ethic that just isn't sustainable when you work for yourself because there's no boss
Yeah.
to tell you you did a good job and the day is done. You're just
Yeah.
going to stay up all night thinking about it.
Yeah.
Learning about the Enneagram was huge, which is like a personality, and gosh, that feels so limiting to call it that. But learning about my type and what my tendencies were was really helpful. And now I can just recognize if I start to lean in, I know the difference between excitement and overwork or burnout, and I can kind of set boundaries around it.
Yeah, that's great. I know that one of the comments you made on LinkedIn recently really made me, I think I contacted Lynn and said, we've got to get Sarah on the podcast because I thought it was really interesting. It was something like you commented on someone else's post about, you know, how you can use LinkedIn and get lots of work without actually posting at all. And I know that for a lot of freelancers, that would be very attractive.
Using it like a Rolodex, I think
Yeah,
it was.
using it like a Rolodex. That was what you said. So talk to us about that and how that worked, if that's worked for you.
Yeah, I know there's groups that mock LinkedIn. Like there's a LinkedIn Lunatics is a Reddit.
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
just
there's
post
so many. There's so many.
hilarious stuff.
Yeah.
But I've just always loved it because it's so obviously where people go for work stuff.
Yeah.
And especially in B2B, in marketing, where personal branding can be important for the marketers and people are on there getting their own leads. Like it's how they run their business as
Yeah.
marketers and salespeople. It made the most sense to just get on LinkedIn and be funny and everything would work out. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what happened.
Yeah.
But I think for other people, the sense that you have to have this vibrant personal brand to work behind the scenes for brands, I just don't think that's true. And like you said, using it as a Rolodex and just using it as a way to explore and fill out your network in niches where someday they might need a writer is a
Yeah.
great way to be building your network, finding out more information about the people in your space, and not necessarily having to, build this huge personal brand that's flashy.
Yeah.
And do the jazz hands and all of that every single day
Right.
and making sure you're posting. Right. So it can be a really successful tool without actually having to
Yeah.
do that.
Or without having to, post your morning coffee and, share your observations about the world. I think
Yeah.
it's helpful to remember that people are using LinkedIn differently. So if
Yeah.
you have a bunch of people in your network sharing pictures of themselves at the gym doing squats or going on sales calls or posting videos and stuff, they're doing it to reach their target audience. So the most important thing for you is to figure out who actually hires me and what do they expect to see. So there could be some niches where it would be appropriate to post stuff related to your work, like reports you're reading
Yeah.
or links or conferences you're going to. There could be niches where they don't expect that at all and they just want to see a nice profile, almost like a resume, before they reach out and work with you.
Interesting.
It is interesting. I just got quite a bit of work from a recent post I did, which was a random one. There's a magazine I write for in Australia quite a lot called Inside Out, and it's closing, as many sort of lifestyle magazines are closing. And I just wrote a post about that. And I have a story in the last issue, and that's all I wrote. But I actually got 2 jobs out of it. And I totally unrelated, and both of them commenting saying they felt sad to see it going. Maybe they thought I would have some availability. I don't know. It was just an unexpected. There's no why I posted, but I certainly got some work out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we miss the fact that a lot of internet stuff is about status and
Yeah.
attracting people to what you're doing, as opposed to using it as a way to cry out desperately for help when you need it.
Yes.
Which my sympathy goes out to people, but you want to be operating in the DMs or like posting about what's going well to bring people into your circle in a positive way.
Yeah,
So does that mean you're not a fan of someone going onto LinkedIn and saying, I've lost all my work. I'm really desperate. Can someone throw me a bone? We've all seen those posts, haven't we?
I may or may not screenshot those and send them to people. But
to your coaching group going, do not do this.
Yeah.
Or to my coach and just say, like, the things that would have to happen in my life before I was willing to say this thing publicly is just astonishing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to be careful because I'm so sympathetic that people do that when they really feel like they've hit the end of what their options are. And that's such a miserable place. I was laid off. I totally have been there. But I do think the best use of your time is always sending a one-on-one message to someone else and just take your Hail Mary shot and send it in a DM rather than posting to your network. Because it's simply just no one makes business decisions out of pity or empathy. They simply won't hire someone because they're unemployed. And I wish it didn't work that way, but I just don't know that works, and it makes you feel miserable.
Yeah.
So that's like 2 for 2 on a no for me.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings me into my question of, I know that you're seeing a wide range of writers who are struggling at the moment or drowning with work. And that's kind of a spectrum that I'm seeing in my Rachel's List group as well. And I know in one of your recent newsletters, you mentioned that the writers you see who are getting work have mastered 3 parts of the client getting process. So can you run through those for us, for those who might not subscribe to your newsletter, and let us know what that is? That process?
Absolutely. I'm such a sucker for a good system.
Yeah.
And to me,
I
this
love
is
that.
about deduction, right? So if you haven't made it through the mousetrap to these different parts of it, you have to stay at that milestone and fix it before you can move on. So it's kind of like, it really doesn't matter if you have a new client call script if no one is booking a call with you. So like, don't fix that problem yet. Start at the beginning. Are you writing the right people? If not, you're sending the wrong pitch to the wrong people, and literally nothing you say is going to help the situation and get you hired or on a call with someone. And it's kind of like, you know, if people want to buy shoes and you have hats, that's just not a relationship that's going to progress. So you have to find the right people who actually need help with what you do. Then you can ask yourself, are they writing back? So does my website, does my LinkedIn profile represent me well enough that somebody's actually intrigued and wants to communicate with me? If not, fix that. You can write some spec clips. You can ask for feedback from peer groups or a coach, stuff like that. And then finally, if they actually say yes. So are you getting on the call and the meeting doesn't go well, or the proposal pricing is just off? Like, those are the milestones you want to fix towards the end. But what you want to do, like, don't fix your pricing or start dropping discounts on everybody until you make sure you're on the phone with the right person and that they actually want to meet with you. And then you could worry about pricing later down the line.
Yeah.
So you've been coaching a little bit. When did that start?
Yeah, I'm about 5 years in.
5
Oh,
years.
wow. 5 years. Awesome.
And they're
Yeah,
mostly writers, are they?
it is. Yeah, so I'm doing about 80% coaching and 20% writing. So for writing clients, I'll do a lot of fixer projects where, you know, someone else tried to do it and then I get to come in and save the day and get it all
that's
perfect
nice.
out the door. Yeah, it's the best. But I realized I actually started my career as a high school English teacher, and that was probably my first experience with burnout and a toxic workplace. And I don't know, the American public education system is just not having a good time right now.
Yeah.
So I got out of that really quick and then got laid off, got into marketing. But this whole journey has helped me kind of heal my ability to teach and my desire to teach. So once I started working with coaches, and that changed my business life so much, I realized that one-on-one relationship is just everything I could want. It's been wonderful.
Oh, that's nice. I think also, I know the bit of coaching I've done little bits here and there. It also improves your own work, doesn't it? Because you really think about the process and what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, and I was going the other way with it, which is like, for a lot of the people I work with, I love to be a copy editor too and a copy coach. So I really help people with the writing side and helping them meet those standards of marketing managers, and then also the business side.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, I drop those processes on everybody.
So what stage are you finding a lot of your coaching clients are coming to you, like especially at the moment?
That is such a cool question, because there's the reason they are coming, and then there's the reason they think they're coming, and then the reason that they're really coming. The reason they think they're coming is because they somehow got into freelancing without a plan. And it worked really well, but nothing is like a well-oiled machine. It's just kind of still happening by accident. So I love helping people figure out, like, what's actually working, what do I want to do, how do I shape this into something that gives me the life I want, instead of just filling my time with billable hours, which is exciting at first. But I think after 2 or 3 years, you start to realize it's just that golden hamster wheel, and it's just going to continue until you can separate your time from your income and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
Otherwise, you've got to find other ways of making money rather than just, your sort of hours, putting in lots of hours, don't you?
Yeah, because as long as you are working with a billable hour, like, there's phases where that's important, and maybe even projects where that's appropriate. But if that's your default, then you've really just created another job for yourself. It's not quite a business that's going to bring you actual profit and actual time off, and let you live the freelance life people sell us, where they're at the beach.
Yes.
I think as well, like, coaching is so, because I'm in a mastermind with Kirsty Fanton at the moment, and what I'm getting out of that is that you can be so in your own head about your own business, and someone else can unlock something in your brain where you just don't think about that, and it's like, whoa, I just actually didn't consider that pathway or that option at all. And it's amazing. I think that's where coaching can be so valuable.
That's exactly what happened. Like literally. So I worked with Ed Gandia for almost a
Yeah, we
decade.
love Ed.
And yes. And Linda Perry is a mindset coach who works with the Copywriters Club, I think, as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it opened up doors inside me that I didn't even know were shut. Like I didn't know they were there. And
Yeah.
then now I can walk through those doors. Like it
Yeah.
really was, I don't know, I liken it to therapy. And therapy and coaching are totally different. There's a very clear line between them. But therapy did for my personal life what coaching did for me as a business person. And that's just, it's something you don't come back from.
Yeah.
It's just a complete change.
Yeah. Interesting that you call it that. It's so true, isn't it? I think that's what makes me nervous about coaching or getting into coaching is it's so easy to end up becoming a therapist to people who are really struggling in their freelance business. And having boundaries around that is very tricky, I think. Yeah. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I've done a lot of training. So I did Tara Moore's Playing Big program. And then I've been a part of a lot of communities that modeled it just so well for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's, when you know yourself really well and you know your coaching client really well, and you can comfortably say, like, this probably isn't relevant to the work side of things, but let's focus on blank and blank.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to have those conversations because so much, especially for women, so much of the coaching conversations come back to personal things like people pleasing and perfectionism and not seeing themselves as a provider and like really building an identity as a provider and somebody who can charge higher rates. So I think you have to be able to get in there and mix it around and then clearly push the personal therapeutic side of things like to the other side of the playground.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I know you've written a lot about confidence as well. I think there was something I read where you talked about your rage at being, how freelance writers are nickel and dimed by companies and clients. So have you got any kind of tips or confidence boosters for writers who know they're worth the big rates that they charge or even the rates that they charge, but they have that quiet freak out every time they send a proposal or a quote?
Yeah, I don't get angry publicly much, but that was a slow burn for me for like 10 years. And the question, I think it boils down to one question because it can get, tricky and weird because we all have different wallets that we operate from. And 30K is a different sum to one person than another person.
Yeah.
But it boils down to this question. How would you feel if you found out someone else just got accepted at a rate that's twice as much as what you're getting paid?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, if you just really sit with that, because I've seen this happen a lot of times. I had one coaching client realize like the agency forwarded them an email that had the invoice amount for the client's client, and they were charging $6,000 to $8,000 for something that the writer was making $2,000, and literally just had nothing to do with the process. And it's like that relationship of marking things up or having overhead on different things. I don't think we realize just how much is on the table. And once you find out, it becomes a lot easier to hold to the higher rate that you set in your mind.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's an eye-opener.
Yeah.
You also talk a lot about the feast and famine that freelancers experience. I think it's that sort of up and down all the time that some people find really hard and turns them off freelancing, I think. Do you think we need to accept that's the way it is, or is there another way to manage that?
I think it's both because there's always going to be a feast or famine of projects closing because there just are natural cycles in business and budgeting periods, and people get sick and everybody has the flu in November and things get pushed to December. But what we can do, and this I learned from my coaches and Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, we can become our own paycheck to avoid that feast or famine and secure ourselves through the harder times. So I think it's more about, am I going to have some discipline or some processes around the feast part so that there is no famine because I'm paying myself through that time. And that was really difficult to do personally, like to get just 10,000 in the bank. But the months where I've had that are the least stressful, smoothest sailing months I've ever had freelancing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when you've come from a conventional pay sort of situation where you're getting the same amount all the time, no matter what business the company is doing, that it takes a while to, as a freelancer, to get into that sort of headspace. Or maybe that's what our
Truly.
expectation is. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very hard to see ourselves as that business now. You know, it's just whatever comes in the door, that's mine to spend. And I'm talking like I'm an expert on this. I definitely have problems with like spending what I earn, but I do know the theory of, you know, what's going to work out better is having kind of a it's almost like building a moat around your finances for business so that even when things are bad on the outside, you've got that paycheck coming to you on the inside. Like you're creating that stability for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been freelancing for a long time and I'm still a work in progress on all of that. I'm reading Austin L. Church's book about all of that. And
Yeah.
I'm like going, okay, yeah, I really need to be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that his book has those important money prompts
Yeah.
to like really dig into the mindset stuff around money. Every time I work on money in that way, I discover new weird things that I didn't know were happening in my brain.
Yeah.
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 I think we've got often some interesting sort of stories in our head about money, things we
We
grew
do.
up with, things we learned in those first few years. And for some of us who've been around for a while, you might have been through a few economic downturns and upturns, and that influences the way we think about it as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I can think of a really interesting one. For me, just really quickly, I was laid off, was my introduction to freelance. And so at the time, I think I was married. We're still married, but I can't remember if we already were by that point. And the way I decided I was allowed to freelance was just if I made rent each month. So I had like these milestones that moved over the course of a couple of years. And so in my mind, I had no idea, but I had created this belief in my mind that my freelance money was just like side money. It wasn't real money. So when the time came to like open a retirement account or set aside for taxes, I just had these thoughts around like, well, that's not real money. The only real money is money that comes to you from an employer. And working through that was the only way I could open like a SEP IRA and start actually saving for my future and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a big change in mindset, isn't it? I think also a lot of us come through freelancing when we're laid off or we just want to change. That's a really common story. And I think sometimes you start freelancing thinking you'll do this until a proper job comes along.
Yeah.
And that's a common thinking. I thought that too. And then I realized after a couple of months, this can be a proper job. This is way better. And I've never looked back.
Yeah. Same. I got made redundant twice in 6 months. So that's how I ended up freelancing. And the market was flooded with journalists. This is back in like early 2000s. So yeah, I've been doing it a long time. I think I am technically unemployable now.
Yeah, me too. I wear that badge.
You wear that badge?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah.
Yeah. We actually need a t-shirt. I think we should get a t-shirt.
Yes.
Well, Sarah, we touched a little bit earlier about, posting on LinkedIn, not using it as a Rolodex and not feeling you have to flood LinkedIn with all your personal brand stuff. But I know that you are still really good at creating that personal brand. You've got a YouTube channel as well. I mean, do you think that you need that to grow and be successful?
I don't. I really don't.
Okay.
And it comes back to kind of the lesson I shared earlier, which is my target audience is very different from a freelance writer's audience. So I'm on YouTube because, well, I actually don't know why I'm on YouTube. I'm exploring that.
Always good.
Right. But I'm on LinkedIn being funny because I know that's how I meet new writers and how they get to know me and see if I could be a good fit for them. Like that's the only reason I'm being funny on LinkedIn. So unless that's how you get to know your freelance writing client, it's really not necessary. So what I don't want though is somebody coming upon the opportunity to post on LinkedIn and share their stuff and not doing it because they just have these beliefs about themselves that maybe they're too fat, they're too old, they're not interesting, or there's something wrong with them, like they should be hiding because it's dangerous to get attention, like that kind of stuff. I think that's more of a flag that there could be something interesting if you dug into it and figured out why you were feeling that way. But for people who just truly don't care and don't want to, it's only an equation of who you are and what you want to do, and then who your clients are and what they want to see. So if they don't care about it, truly, you don't need to care about it.
Okay, so we seem to have had a bit of a technical hitch with Lynn's internet. So this is a content bite first. Lynn has disappeared and can't even come back on a hotspot. So I'm going to finish the podcast. Just you and me, Sarah.
Woo!
So
My heart is
where
heavy, but for
oh,
Lynn,
I know.
I will march on.
I think she might be freaking out at the moment. She can't even get her hotspot working. So yeah. Okay. So I think that the last thing that we were talking about before we had our lovely offline discussion waiting for Lynn was we were talking about the B2B freelancers that you help and the biggest challenges that you see them facing right now. So maybe let's go back to that.
Yeah, and what comes to mind is, I guess a lot of them are in that learning phase of starting to see freelancing and business building as an Olympic sport and really treat themselves as an athlete, maybe just a mental athlete, and understand like what productivity practices are actually helpful to them, understanding how their niche works, how business and sales works, and finding clients, and then the emotional stamina to be able to last in this. Because like you said, feast or famine can really chew you up. Economic cycles, elections, it can all be really difficult to process emotionally and financially. So being able to have some support with that or some practices and stuff, I think that's what people really, really need right now.
Mm. And I think like also from my own experience, that you can be really successful for a certain period of time and then you can fall down because you don't have the right processes in place. So like, is that something you've experienced and had to really look at in your own business or with your coaching clients?
I don't think I did, surprisingly, because my approach to having things spin up was just to sacrifice all of my physical and mental health just to get the work done.
Yeah.
So that's where the
Been
burnout
there.
came in. My
Yeah.
approach, I think different people do different things, and maybe some of us are inclined to just lean in, overwork, blast through all our reserves, and just be a miserable husk of a person. And that's the cycle I had to fix personally, because my systems were always really strong and my client getting was always really strong, but I couldn't handle the abundance when it came. I was trying not to use that word because it's really corny, but when things were going really well and flowing really well, I would still have problems and kind of self-sabotage and have difficulty handling it. So that's really what I had to focus on. I do see other people, though, things are really busy and great. You're getting it done. Things are quiet. You start freaking out and doubting every decision you've ever made in your life. And that's where it can be really helpful to have people to talk through with it.
Yeah. Have you seen a lot of transformations with clients who have gone and done training or had coaching or that sort of thing? Is it something that we don't really consider, but it can be really, like I said, transformative, I suppose?
I wish everyone could see my grin, but yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of moments, and that's what keeps me going when I have my own feast and famine cycles with coaching, which is just like these little moments where somebody that I've been working with for a year shares that, I met with the client and they said it wasn't going to work out. And so I'm just going to move on to the next call. And that sounds like such a little thing. But for that person a year ago, a client not moving forward with a call would have been like a devastating 3 days of having to emotionally recover from they don't think I'm smart enough. I'll never be able to do this. No one will ever hire me again. So to see people mature into a business owner that has the emotional bandwidth to face rejection like that, like these little tiny rejections that could otherwise really hurt, is just so satisfying. Yeah, and that's the kind of inside stuff that coaching does that we don't really realize is an option. Like, because who among us has had a healthy business ownership modeled for us? I don't think I've ever met anybody.
Yeah.
Like, they all had to get it themselves and then learn it from someone else.
That's it. And sometimes just, being in someone else's orbit who's that little bit ahead of you, or even being in a community of people who, are all different stages and some people are ahead of you. You just learn so much and grow so much, don't you? And it's invaluable, really.
Yeah. And I'll see that too. One thing I'll do with clients is practice prospecting calls where I'll either dress up or have an accent and pretend to be a client and kind of put them through the paces and see how they do. And then we talk about how it went. And I think seeing people with a before and after of that, with a practice call early on and then a practice call later, and just seeing someone kind of grow into themselves as a business owner is just really cool. And then that's how
great
people,
idea.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I do a lot of improv too. And I realized like just bringing in like character acting, and I really love it. And it's been fun.
Amazing. Well, I'm guessing that you mentioned before that you're a very curious person. You love, the B2B space because it feeds your curiosity. So along those lines, what's on your must learn list for the coming year?
Honestly, how to read. Because I
You're not?
love reading. Yeah, I know this sounds weird. I love reading. My whole childhood, I would just like disappear into the woods with an apple and a book, and I would just read The Hobbit forever. But for some reason, now that I have total control over my time, I will never let myself read. Like, it's been something I've been working on for like 3 years of just making time during the day to read.
Yeah.
And that's really, honestly, that's what I want to work on, because I think staying curious and being multi-passionate and just reading stuff constantly is so healthy and fun, and I just don't let myself do it. So that's really what I'm looking at for next year.
I'll tell you, I'll give you my hot tip if you want.
Bring
because
it.
I was like you. I was so deep in building my business, working, etc. The only stuff I read was just, online. I completely stopped reading books. And my husband gave me a Kindle one Christmas. And it completely opened up that habit again, to the point where I now read a book a week, and it's a real mixture of fiction and business books. But the other awesome thing is you can take notes and like highlight, things that you love or that are of interest to you, or that you want to try in your own business or something. And then just click a button and it emails you all the notes to your email from that book.
So when do you read? Like, how do you fit it in?
So my Kindle's so small, so it fits in my bag, and I'll take it everywhere. So I'll read if I'm in between an appointment and going somewhere, if I'm on public transport. Also, when I'm putting my kid to bed at night, we're in the dark,
Yeah.
I can read it then. So I get a lot more reading in, like heaps more than I used to. I went for years without actually picking up a book, and it changed that habit immediately, because it was kind of how, I don't know, I just found it so much easier to read with a Kindle. Yeah.
So hypothetically, let's say somebody has a Kindle, but hypothetically,
So you do.
yeah,
Still not helping.
hypothetically, they've trained themselves to only read trashy romance novels with the Kindle. How would this hypothetical person move away from that habit to reading business books and fiction?
For me, it's like any time that because I'm in so many different groups, and if someone recommends a book, I think I've got to go and check that out. So I immediately go and check it out. And if I get a sample on my Kindle, then you can easily buy it. So it's perhaps hasn't been so good for my bank account, because I'm constantly buying books and adding them to my Kindle. But I think you should revisit if you've got one already.
Yeah. Well, it's reminding me
maybe force yourself to buy one romance novel, one business book, or something like that.
It's reminding me of a lesson really early on with like the double your freelancing income community that was big in like 2014. And
I know
someone was just really emphatic. Like, if I see a book and I think I'll read it, I just go ahead and buy it, because if I learn even one helpful thing that levels up what I'm doing, how is that not worth 10, $20? And that really changed how I saw investing in myself. Because I guess before then, investing in myself only meant like self-care, like maybe a massage or like going for a walk. But to actually put money into me in my business, like that took a while, but I'm so glad that sunk in.
Well, I'm going to come back to you. We're going to check on you, and we'll have a little accountability pod about your reading habits. Well, this has probably gone on way too long. I'm not even sure, because we had to chop up the episode. So I'm going to finish off by asking you your favorite tech tips or digital tools, things you'd be lost without.
I would almost gladly get a tattoo of a program called Descript. It is a video audio editing. Yeah. It is the digital love of my life. And for writers, I would say, using that to click and drag MP4s to get a transcript, invaluable. So wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, Lynn loves the script. I haven't moved yet from Otter, but I've got to try it. So I'll give that a go. Amazing. Well, Sarah, tell us where listeners can find you, where they can subscribe to your excellent newsletter, all that jazz.
Yeah, thanks. B2BWritingInstitute.com is where all the fun stuff happens. And then I try to be very funny on LinkedIn, but you'd have to come and follow me and then let me know if that's true.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Well, thank you so much for being our guest this week. That brings us to the end of the show. It's very weird ending the show without Lynn, who is in the internet wasteland right now trying to sort out her hotspot. But
do you want to do an impersonation?
I think I could.
Okay.
But I hope that we've ended it, on a high. This has just been so great, Sarah. So thank you very much for coming on, and thanks everybody for listening. And don't forget to leave a rating and review. And Lynn and I will be back as a team next week.
I'm not sure if I should say thank you.
Oh yeah, you can say goodbye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, it was awesome to talk with you both.
Thanks again to our wonderful sponsors, Rounded, easy accounting and invoicing software that helps freelancers run their business with confidence.
And don't forget, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can check your welcome emails for an exclusive discount code on the annual subscription rate. You can also find it in the private Facebook Gold group, or just contact us at hello@rachelslist.com.au.